Well. Let's see. It's cold. It's October. That means beer.
Yep.
Actually, well, anytime means beer time, but this time, even more than the other times, means beer time. So, yeah, welcome to Love Beer Radio. I am Matt from Massive Beer Reviews, along with co-host, co-founder, whatever you want to call him, Joe from an APR Beer Reviews. What's going on, brother?
Not too much. How are you?
Pretty crappy, to be perfectly honest with you. I sprained my knee, so I am a red hot mess of limping around and not moving that much. And to the point where I didn't even want to do this tonight. I actually didn't do the radio show today. I didn't do anything I was supposed to do today because I couldn't get around, and it got so bad to the point where I actually went to the hospital. Just had him kind of check it out just to check it out. So came back, took a quick 2 to 3 hour nap, woke up, and felt a little bit better. So yeah, so I figured why not? Might as well cure a little bit of the doldrums. That's the thing that it sucks that my knee hurts, but it sucks even more that I can't do anything. That actually drives me insane.
Yeah, just sitting around doing nothing, you know?
Yeah, it's the absolute worst. So, so this is a nice little fucking distraction from the craptasticness that is my knee. How about you? How you doing?
Pretty good. This, like I was telling you before, the most I've gone outside since like Thursday has been the short walk to grab my my tripod and like iPad holder thingy. So that was fun. Other than that, it's been homework, and if not homework, a lot of Hearthstone because I'm a huge nerd. So
nothing wrong with being a huge nerd.
No,
everybody who's into something like super, they're all nerds. Where everybody's a nerd. Yeah. Everybody has their nerd thing.
I've gotten to a point for people who don't know what Hearthstone is, it's basically Magic the Gathering by way of World of Warcraft. I've gotten like confident enough in my playing to like actually play other people. It's the only game that I play online, like frequently. Okay. Apart from Dark Souls, because I have to play Dark Souls online.
Yeah.
Because it, but yeah, I was getting some bullshit wins, which whatever, a win is a win. I've had people quit on me because like they introduced a new feature, which is like a different thing each week. And this week, I just had like people like, fucking, I'm done. Like you, so.
Nothing like getting some rage quitters up in your life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I could never do the online game thing. I did it a couple times, a couple games, but in general, I just like offline campaigny stuff. That's what I kind of dig when it comes to games. So,
like if it's console games, I'm pretty much the same way. Like I said, with the exception of Dark Souls, because I'm crazy, and 2, I have to be online for that game.
Yeah.
But this one is really the only one that I actually will be like, all right, now let's jump in. I'll lose some. I've gotten past the like, I lose a lot, and now I'm like, all right, cool, I can win sometimes, and it's like I win some, I lose some kind of mentality, which is, kind of how you have to go into online games.
Yes. Nice. Any tidbits of awesomeness, beer-wise or industry-wise or anything you got going on?
I am, right now, I'm drinking Westbrook Goes.
Okay.
And I tagged it, I checked it in on Untapped, and I had to take a picture of this because we complained about the stupid pun names that Gozes will get. And here's one. I will name the brewery because on only one ground. I've never heard of it before, and 2, I have no idea where this place is. So this is the Libertine Pub, and it's Once You Goes Black.
Yeah, makes sense. They probably brewed it with like a caramel or roasted malt. It's probably like a dark goes.
I have no, like I said, I'm only naming the brewery because I don't know where they are located. But like, I looked at it, I'm like, fucking really? Like, all right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not really. I think there was like more. I saw more articles. I didn't really look into them too much, but I saw more articles on the like whole AB InBev, Sab Miller thing. Then there was one. It was like a 5-point plan for big macro brewers to destroy craft beer, which just I looked into that and I'm like, all right, this is like the equivalent of like clickbait.
So, yeah, I mean, all the stuff that you're just seeing on AB InBev's thing right now is a bunch of like, they're rejecting it, or they might have not rejected it, or now there's a sale. And yeah, it's just a bunch of like waiting around for them to say it's over. It's pretty much what's going on.
There was also like, I don't know if it was accusations or an investigation into like the potential that AB InBev was like trying to corner the distribution market and like basically do a complete control over that. I don't know. Like I said, all of this like AB InBev stuff, I'm like, I really don't. I really don't care what happened like about this particular thing. Like it's just kind of whatever. So I've like basically just kind of brushed it all off. So
yeah.
I've just seen it in passing and like, oh, somebody posted a thing on this one. All right, cool, whatever. Like I'll look at one of them and then I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. Bunch of money grubbing assholes and yeah. No, not really. I don't give a shit about that stuff. I wish I had that kind of money to buy and sell the world, but alas, I have to live a normal life like much of us. So what are we talking about this week? What are we doing? Because I have no news. I don't think I have any news. Do I have any news?
Yeah, no. Our news section is pretty short this week, which is just fine. We are going to be talking. This is kind of like a mishmash of different things. So, kind of our first topic is should certain brewing regions, Germany, Belgium, UK, wherever, kind of be looked at as like a standard for everyone else. And that's basically, we all know the people that think if a beer isn't brewed the way it is in X country, they're not even going to bother with it. Then we're going to be reviewing the Cherry Dopplebock from Brewery Viviant. It's also a collaboration, which I just noticed, with Victory. So that should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like me some cherries. I love me some Doppelbocks. 6.5% alcohol by volume, so that's all right. You know what I mean? I mean, my favorite my favorite Doppelbock is Celebrator, and Celebrator is 6.7. But usually I like my Doppelbocks to be the 7 to 8 range.
I was gonna say this is kind of like on the low end,
typically,
for Doppelbock. And then we're gonna be wrapping up the show. I think we've kind of talked about this particular point, but not in like a full kind of topic look. But this is like viewing the BJCP as like kind of a golden rule for brewing, and then also taking beer writers and other brewers and all that kind of stuff too seriously. This is kind of just things that this whole kind of topic for this whole episode is basically just like observations that I've made amongst, whether it be my friends up at school or just like kind of in general.
I got you.
Like the second topic is mostly that.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna pass it to you. You start.
Me. I can start. Yay for me.
Every now and again, I toss it to you to start.
So we're doing the whole should certain breweries or regions or whatever, you know what I mean, be the standard for everyone else. And honestly, it's like it's a very. I don't think it's a very. What's what I'm looking for? Cut and dry answer. I don't think it's a yes/no thing.
It's not.
It kind of ties into the secondary subject of BJCP. That's kind of where that comes into play, where you have like a Belgian Trappist style quadruple. All those standards are written based off of the region where they're from, but so in that instance, yes, but it's not yes because how am I looking to phrase it? I think I don't know. Basically, the answer is, which is a great way to start the conversation. Should the areas be held to like how did you phrase it? Be like the brewing standard for everyone else. There's a difference between standard and BJCP standard, and I think you know what I mean. There's like to me like there've been breweries that brewed Belgian quads or like. Let's put it this way: an IPA today didn't fit into the standard of an IPA 20 years ago, as far as what it was originally brewed as. But there's some today that are infinitely better for me. So it's a weird thing, man. It's a hard thing to say because, like, I honestly believe like a lot of people tout the whole like Germany Reinheitsgebot shit as a good thing, and I think it's actually a bad thing because you're basically making people do stuff a specific way without giving them the leeway to kind of be creative with other ingredients. But at the same time, they were needed back in the day, like you had to have kind of standards based on beer, specifically more of the Reinheitsgebot stuff, because it was like, so there were small beers that were basically brewed so people can drink and not die. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's like a weird one because it's not so cut and dry as it is. I do fall prey to that, though. Like a lot of times if I'm reviewing a Belgian quad or a dark, and I keep going back to the Belgians because to me that's the hardest style for people outside of that region to nail. You know what I mean? Like there's like I've had, and when I say that region, I'm talking, Belgium, Netherlands, because there's, Trappist breweries in Netherlands, Austria, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like I hold them up as the kind of the measuring tape for a Belgian because breweries have a really hard time doing that. But then there's places like, like, I don't know, my Russian Imperial Stouts, like I've had great ones from Belgium. I have great ones from, New England. I've had great ones from the United States. So it's like in that aspect, I'm not more like holding that to a region. You know what I mean? And I'm saying, okay.
So what you're saying is basically like certain styles, and in particular Belgium, you're kind of more like your Belgian beers. You're holding that to more of a standard than most other styles. So.
And then there's other style like American Pale Ales. It's hard to find a brewery that makes a really good American Pale Ale outside of America. It's really hard.
That's true.
It's really hard. Well, no, I was gonna say German Hefes. They're getting better all over the place, so that's not really one. Or Belgian Wits. There's some good ones outside of Belgium. So there's just some that I do and some that I don't. So it's like a weird question to kind of work around because it's not just yes, I do believe that as a whole, or I believe it as a whole. No, or I don't believe it. It's like I choose which one I hold to that standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair. That's my answer.
Cool. I agree with you on your like kind of Reinheitsgebot thing. I think that has kind of gone a little crazy, at least like outside because there's breweries. I don't know if you see it so much anymore, but I think I forget what beer it was, but it was like, brewed to the Reinheitsgebot. I'm like, you're not in fucking Germany. Why bother?
Yeah.
And even in Germany, there was like a contention as to whether or not dry hopping a beer fell outside the reigns of the Reinheitsgebot, and everybody was like, anyone who was for it was like, you're still like it's still hops, like they're not some magical changing property thing outside of the boil, it's still a hop, it's still a part of what you're saying can go into the beer. We're just trying to use it somewhere else, and there were some people who were like, no, don't fucking do that.
The whole Reinheitsgebot thing itself is kind of like, how do I put it? It's like saying you can't buy, like in Pennsylvania, we weren't allowed to buy beer from a beer distributor on Sundays for a really long time. And then they were like, okay, that's retarded. And then they fucking change it. It's the same thing to me.
Yeah.
Like Reinheitsgebot was there for a reason, to keep people from getting
Yeah.
poisoned and get people from getting sick. That's not gonna
Not
happen nowadays.
it wasn't necessarily for that. It was to like they made it so that barley, which wasn't typically used for bread, was available for brewers, and the grains that you would typically associate with bread, you know, your wheat, your rye, and oats, and all that kind of stuff, were available for bakers. Because at any given time, brewers need way more of the grain than bakers do.
Yeah.
So the brewers bought up all the shit, and now there's no bread for people to eat. So they're like, all right, no, can't fucking do that. Let's. You get this, you get that, and that's it.
But also part of it was
then they made
purity
amendments
laws.
to it after a long time.
They added what did they add? Wheat? What did they add? Wheat? What was the third one they added? Fourth one they added? Yeast. It was 3. Was it yeast? Was it the fourth one they added?
They didn't know when they initially made it. They didn't know about yeast.
Oh, okay.
So it was water, hops, and barley, and then they added yeast when they discovered what yeast was. Because like as far as they knew, fermentation was a miracle, like a literal miracle.
But you know, same way. It's like it's an old thing that doesn't need to exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's like, why does it exist? Like now it just exists so that people can put it on a label.
Yeah.
Like it actually doesn't like nobody's gonna run out. I think
there's also like, I think there's probably more to it in Germany. I think there was like certain. Like they've expanded it obviously, but like even within the parameters that they've expanded it, you can't like make something that's like super super crazy, because like the way that it's tapped, like people just won't buy it. Like after a while, like after a certain price point, if you exceed that, like people aren't just don't buy your beer, you know.
But that's like them. That's the people that are used to the law,
but like,
and being from there.
Yeah, but outside of there, that was my first point. Like, why are you even bothering? You know?
Yeah, it doesn't, like, I get it from the historical sense, like you said in your explanation about wheats and greens and whatnot. But like nowadays, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like if I don't know anybody who's come up to me and been like, man, dude, I ate at this restaurant. They're only allowed to use 4 fucking ingredients for every meal they make. You gotta fucking go there. It's delicious. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to restrict, because beer has gotten more from like quantity over quality and utilitarian to more like fun. Not to say it's just fun for getting drunk. It's more creative and artistic and all that kind of stuff. And to be like, okay, here's a canvas. I want you to paint me a picture, but you're only allowed to use 4. Well, actually, if I said, oh, you're only allowed to use 4 colors, you can make every fucking color out of 4 colors. That's not a good fucking example. But you get what I mean. 2 colors. Let's say 2 colors. Not the exact number, and be like, well, if you just gave me 2 more colors to work with, I can make any color you fucking wanted. You know what I mean? So it's like that thing, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. No, and I think my kind of point with this whole thing was like there's even people who like I don't want to name it. This was just from talking to Lindo, but there's a particular radio personality around us. I've said that. I mentioned
Chip the beer guy.
Like this. Yeah, Chip the beer guy. There we go. Chip the beer guy. Apparently, he's like the sort that like, if it's not a German beer, it's shit.
Yeah, but that's different though, because for him, he just doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's talking about, so he lays back on that. You know what I mean? To be like, okay, you're like, okay, I don't know anything. The what?
I said the man barely knows what beer is.
Yeah, so it's like that. He says that because he doesn't know, so he says that like, like it's like when people say, you know, like fall back on the Bible when they don't even really know what they're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. I read the Bible. I'm Christian. You're not. So whatever you say doesn't go because I know. But then, like, if you were to actually be like, okay, let's talk about the Bible, and if you were trying to break down like sections of the Bible, and they would be like, well, I don't know what you mean by that. You know what I mean? Like, he's whatever.
Yeah. Like, I think I think what another part that you were saying, like specific things. I think we're definitely in the whole Belgian world. I think we're getting better, but I don't know if we have the kind of like obviously brewers know the kind of the importance of yeast character when you're making a Belgian beer, but I don't know if like the general beer drinking public understands that. And I think like it's always like, oh, this, I don't know how I want to form this. It's like there always has to be something else. Like the just yeast character alone like almost confuses people that don't really understand Belgian beers, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I get it. You know? Yeah.
So like we almost have to kind of, like as brewers we've got to combat that, and it's like, what do you mean there's not a lot of hops in this beer? What do you mean their malt character isn't super high? Like what? So it's always like, no, this beer is just entirely yeast driven. Like, what do you mean by that? It's like it's almost on the scale of like this beer is entirely water driven. You know, like just the qualities of the water are what drives this beer. You know, I think that's kind of on the same level. Like water and yeast are basically on the same level in a lot of people's minds. And then hops,
like yeast is there to turn yeast is there to turn their hops into beer. It does provides no flavor whatsoever. It's just there is utilitarian, not actually flavor. A lot of people think that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another kind of benefit is at least with the beers that are being made in kind of that area of Belgium, Austria, and the Netherlands, is that those yeast strains have been around for a long time, so they've gotten to really like hone in and play with them, whereas like ours are just kind of up and coming, and they haven't really. I don't know if a lot of these breweries have really reached the kind of full potential that they can get out of it. You know, there are probably some that have, but like I think one of the better American quads that I've had was the 6th Glass from New Belgium. New Belgium.
Blasphemy Boulevard.
I know. Boulevard. Thank you. I don't know why I said New Belgium. Give them way too much credit. It's weird, like just that little slip, because there is literally nothing around here. There's not a New Belgium bottle cap that I had like just lying around. There's no bottles of theirs anywhere within eyesight. So that was just such an odd like little why my brain instantly went to them. That's crazy. But anyway, the 6th Glass from Boulevard is probably one of the better American quads that I've had. You've probably had a little bit more than I have, but I think as far as Boulevard goes, they really have a handle on their yeast, and they really understand like what yeast does for these particular beers.
Yeah, no, there's a small group of American breweries that really have a handle on that. Boulevard would be one of them. Not that I'm not a huge fan of their yeast strains, but Omegang would be another. Fucking
I'm not a huge fan of their yeast strains either. Like
Flat Schlafly would be another one. There's there's another one I'm spacing on, but anyway, regardless, Kane would be another one from Jersey. Like they know what they're doing when they're getting around a Belgian thing. So I mean that my whole holding Belgians up to a measuring stick that is the Belgian Trappist beer could change, and that's the thing. Like once people start figuring stuff out. Like, and that's the thing, not to make it, to make it not complicated, is that you got a hop, you smell it, you brew with it, you pretty much know what you have. Yeah, you can fuck up the beer.
Yeah.
But with yeast, you have to treat it a certain way, whether it be temperature.
Yeah, yeast all smells.
Yeah. Well, not even that.
Yeast all smells the same, and it's like shit.
You could brew with a specific yeast and like start it at a specific temperature, finish at a specific temperature, and let it sit for a specific time at a different temperature, and then two different strains at different temperatures and come up with 2 different fucking flavor profiles. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
Not like that's not really something you can do with hops. You know what I mean?
No, you can. I mean, you could let hops age for a little while.
Yeah.
and like that'll change, but it probably won't be good. You know, your malt characters aren't really gonna change too much. There's some. I mean, if you mash too high, if you mash too hot, or sparge too hot, even you can have a chance of pulling and getting some astringency in there. But yeah, I mean, the most significant changes that you can do is just on yeast alone. Like the yeast strain that I use for a lot of my beers, I ferment. I have no temperature control on my on the buckets that I use. So whatever temperature my basement's at is the temperature that it's fermenting. And granted, when it's fermenting, the heat is given off, but that's not the point. I get a lot of fruit out of that particular yeast strain, and it actually works quite well with the bigger beers that I make. The fruit character is actually kind of like a welcome thing.
Well, I mean, when you're dealing with fermentation, or like letting a beer sit in fermentation, I mean, there's exceptions to the rule when it comes to specific beers like lagers and whatnot. But I mean, typically you want to be between 50 to 60 degrees, right?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania.
It depends on the style. Certain style, like that Belgian Abbey yeast that I used, said about like go pitch in at like between 70 and 75 degrees, which I thought was a little hot, but I did it anyway.
But I mean, Pennsylvania cellars are very, very similar to your Belgian Netherlands cellars as far as temperature goes. We pretty much have the same kind of temperate climate here. Do you know what I mean? So our basements, even during the summer, aren't going to get much above 70, and in the winter, they're really not going to get much below 40. You know what I mean? And most of the time, they're going to be sitting right around 50, 55 degrees, you know? So it's like, you live in a region where you can do that and not have to worry about it. Where other people probably have to do temperature control because either shit gets way too cold or way too hot.
Mm-hmm. I started to divert topic, but I started drinking this Westbrook. I'm like, oh, the acidity is kind of nice. Like, oh, it's like kind of perfect for me. And then I'm drinking it, and I'm like, fuck, I got like heartburn now. And I'm out of medicine.
Me too, man. Like I took a pill like right before I went on because I'm like, I'm gonna have heartburn, and it's just from having beer. Mm-hmm. I think it's totally like I opened a Belgian dark. I did a quick review before we jumped on just because so I could have something to drink that I wanted to drink, and it wasn't all that good, but and then I just opened a Susquehanna Brewing Company beer, and it's kind of, this thing's giving me a heartburn like crazy.
What Susquehanna beer did you open?
Hop Accelerator. It is a India Pale, just our base India Pale, West Coast style. Is it West Coast? Stuff for debate.
Probably. But they're changing a lot, and I'm going to be really, really interested to see how their beers change on just like the new beers that they put out as they grow. Because already I think they have a new brewmaster in, at least from the one that I knew when they first opened. And that's kind of when like the Southern Rye started coming out on like the Hop Accelerator series, and like they actually started making IPAs and shit instead of like here's a Pilsner. Here's another Pilsner.
That they know they are people are going there to contract brew.
Are they?
Evil.
They're fucking huge. I can't imagine.
Evil Monkey, or not Evil Genius. You're right. Evil Genius goes there. There's another brewery, Clink, I think they're called.
Clink, yeah.
They're going in there, and I know a couple. I think there's who else? There's a couple more that are going in there. So it's like maybe they're smart enough to be like, "Hey, you need any help?" You know what I mean? Like, and just see what the person's doing. So, plus they have a state-of-the-art system. Who the fuck doesn't want to brew in it? You know what I mean? So,
yeah, but like I said, like once I didn't know like that Evil Genius contracted out of there, and that Clink is actually I think fairly new, but just like, excuse me.
I'm pretty sure there's some other ones, like I think maybe even Left Hand or something. Somebody's maybe
I think Left Hand, unless they changed.
Lancaster maybe, or some other breweries.
Then they changed from because I'm pretty sure Lancaster contracted out of Lion.
You might be right.
At least I'm pretty sure, because if you looked at the Lancaster milk stouts, they said Wilkes-Barre.
You're right. I'm wrong.
Yeah. But I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to me that that Susquehanna would be in a state to take in contracts, because just when they first opened, they had a ton of room to grow.
Lancaster is brewing out of Susquehanna.
Lancaster is? Oh wow, they switched then.
It says here that the beer and packaging will remain the same, but there's a peek at the bottle label for Lancaster. They're Hop Hog IPA and Hop Bug Amish Grain brewed at Susquehanna. That was May of this year.
Oh shit! But anyway, like where Susquehanna the last time that I was in there, where they had their trucks, which was like a whole like huge ass garage and like storage area, that was essentially the size of, you could fit all of Weyerbacher's facility in just that area alone and still have an entire like warehouse next door. So like I said, I'm not surprised at all that they were able to pick up some contract brewing.
And yeah, like I mean, like the facility is absolutely out of this world, top notch shit. You know what I mean? So
yeah, have you ever been in there?
Yeah, I went through there not too long ago, just to peek in. I didn't get to take a tour. I just popped in because I was driving by and they were open, just to look real quick. I haven't taken a tour. I want to take a tour just because it's local, but
the tours are pretty interesting.
Yeah, I forget where I was going. I might have been going to Sabatini's or something on my day off, and like a Saturday maybe. You know, and if I back way I go, I actually literally drive right past Sabatini's, or not Sabatini's. I drive right past Susquehanna, and I was like, yeah, it's like I'll pop in. Just kind of peeked in, looked real quick, and then left. But yeah, and get back on topic with the whole like, does style really, you know, from country to country matter? It does and doesn't. You know what I mean? That's the weird thing about it, is that that's hard to articulate. You know what I mean? There's some styles that are like you, even though there's American barley wine and then there's English barley wine, that's more style of beer. That's not notating where it came from. Like, I don't give a fuck where my barley wines come from. They can come from Chile or Italy or Argentina. I don't think twice, you know what I mean, about, okay, where's this barley wine from? I care if it's English or American, because then you're hop forward versus, you know, not hoppy. But when I do pick up a fucking Belgian ale, I'm like, where is this? Who made this? Where are they located? I actually do that. And that's the kind of like the whole Trappist thing, is like, that's how you know, okay, at least they're over there. What does that mean? Does it mean anything? I mean, technically not all of them are over there, because you can get that new Spencer fucking one, which is weird. Have you had that yet? The Spencer Trappist blonde?
No, I haven't.
From Massachusetts or whatever it is, Spencer, Massachusetts. It's the first Trappist brewery in the United States.
I haven't had anything.
Yeah, you could buy 4-packs of that shit out in Bloomsburg. That's how quickly they're expanding. Wow. Yeah, I went to a Wegmans out past like between Bloomsburg and State College, and they had it in a cooler. I was like, how the fuck are you getting them? Like, it totally skipped over us.
Yeah, really.
Because you can get it in Jersey, you can get it up in New York, but you can't get it fucking here, but you can get it in fucking State College. It's fucking retarded. Yeah,
I was going to say, how did that fucking skate by Lindo?
That's what I mean. Like, it might be that weird thing where we don't get the shoots up there, but once you go a certain distance, like at that same Wegmans, I picked up the shoots, the Jubel. You know what I mean? So it's like distribution bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so my answer, if I was going to go definitive on the answer, would be yes and no, which is totally not the definition of definitive. It's the exact opposite of definitive.
It is.
But it's based on style, and it's getting, like you said, it's getting smaller and smaller as it goes. Trying to think if there's, besides Trappist or Belgian ales, are there anyone that's really like I'm hard on about like, okay, if I get this beer, I really want it to be from this country. I'm trying to think. Maybe a Pilsner? Like a Czech Pilsner because they have their own thing going on? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe like I don't even want because you could fucking do like an English bitter fucking anywhere. Like that doesn't really matter.
Maybe like an export stout.
Yeah.
You look at England and Ireland and all that shit for an export stout, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's a weird one.
Other than that, yeah, it is a weird one. Like other than that, really not too many.
Oh,
not really. Like
I know one. If I'm going to drink a fucking macro adjunct lager, it's got to be from the United States. Otherwise, it's not going to taste right. You know, like think about it. If you think of like a macro adjunct fucking lager, again, it's still beer. We're not talking whether it's good beer or bad beer. You know what I mean? Like you got to go USA in that one, baby. Quantity over quality. Come on now.
Yeah. That being said, I do have a hard time. Oh, specific beer, Guinness. I don't drink Guinness. I don't like Guinness outside of Ireland. And I'm gonna be one of those fucking people who like they don't pour it right because they don't.
I honestly think, and this is just me because I've had like 17 different variants of Guinness, that I think a lot of that is memories of travel as opposed to the actual. It's a little placebo effect.
Agree with that.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I'll give you that. It's like. I'm like, oh, this was like one of my first beers that my cousin got when I was over there. You know,
because the whole nostalgia. But the whole thing, like, oh, they only have the special Guinness in Ireland. That's a bunch of bullshit. That actually it's not true.
Yeah, it is absolute bullshit.
It's not true. It's the same shit. And two, you're telling me you could send me a fucking a 6-7% triple from fucking England or not England, Belgium, and get it here. And then it tastes good. You can't get me a fucking stout. You know what I mean? From England or Ireland. But here's the thing. I'm going to tell you right now. And that's the whole thing about beer when it comes to either beer talking about it or reviewing it or whatever the fuck you want to call it. If I'm on a vacation and I go to Guinness and I'm in their actual facility and I'm drinking a beer straight from them, it's going to taste better because my brain's telling me it's going to taste better before I even drink it. Because mood and where you are in the time and place you're drinking a beer makes a big fucking deal about how you know, you're having the shittiest of shitty days. It's just not going to, the beer is going to be good, but it's not going to taste as good as it was if you're having an awesome fucking day. You know? Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Review time?
Yes.
Okay. Well, two things before we kick off. Me and Joe are going to be reviewing Brewery Viviant in conjunction, collaboration with Victory Brewing. Here's the label right here. Okay. That is the label.
Is there a different label underneath?
And again, for the second time in a row, we have a different Viviant fucking label underneath.
I love this brewery so much.
But here's the thing. This one, the other one, remember, is the other one we're doing. I did like the pothole stout, and I was talking about how different. Remember, I was telling you about that. Yeah. This actually is a can made for this beer, though. It's just a limited release collab generic can. So they send this out for canning. It's not some other beer. You can actually see on the side it actually has like, it's a certified corporation can. It just looks like it's a generic can.
I love. God, this.
Yeah, it's so ghetto, right? It's so fantastic.
God, this brewery is fucking great.
Because the second I got this up here, and then we started talking, I'm like, I gotta peel this off to see what the fuck's underneath it. You know what I mean? So there you go. You get a nice sticker for your wall because it peels off pretty easily too.
Oh, I got it. I have it, the full thing off. Real nice.
I've never seen that in my life.
I have to bring that other can home because this has to go onto my my mini fridge. I had like all kinds of stickers and shit on my mini fridge.
Nice.
Oh, this might go on my car. I might run outside and put this on my car after.
Okay, let's see what this Dopplebock has. Ooh. Making a mess. I'm making a mess over here, Joe. This isn't good.
Oh.
Let's see what we got here. Okay. We have, I got about a finger and a half off white coffee ice cream colored head. Yeah. Nice creaminess to it.
Mine poured basically like soda. But that's the glass that I poured it into.
It's pretty clear. If you actually
fancy stuff.
You hold it up to a decent light, you can actually see pretty through it clearly, but it's a dark, rich mahogany in color.
It is. Yeah, you can actually see kind of through it.
Yeah, when you get light enough to see through it, you can see through it. It's not like murky or cloudy or doesn't have a ton of funk going on.
Yeah.
Get a nose in the sucker. I smell bready yeastiness and a touch of cherry, so it's delivering what it's supposed to right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it smells like a Dopplebock with a hint of cherry.
It has a nice kind of like almost chocolatey kind of roastiness to it.
That's the thing with Doppelbocks, and Doppelbocks, and then more specifically, I've always, and this is a good one to kind of go. I guess not. It doesn't really tie that in well, but like to me, I've always held Doppelbocks very close to Belgian quads and doubles. They're kind of like a bastard cousin as far as styles and whatnot. And you do typically get like a dark fruity kind of vibe off of a lot of Belgian darks and Doppelbocks in general. So throwing cherry in there just kind of makes sense. And nice chocolate, kind of roasty, toasty malt. It's not super roasted, just a touch of it. It's not a bad beer.
Now, going back to our first topic, would Doppelbock be another kind of beer where you're like really looking to see where it's made? Or are you looking for it to be in the kind of like Austria, Belgium, Germany kind of region?
Honestly, I would say no. Only because of this. Only because if you were to take my top 5 Doppelbocks, the list would go like this: Germany or Austria, sorry. Austria, USA, USA, then it'd probably go the Netherlands, then it would go USA, and I'm trying to think what the 5th one would be. I don't know. So it'd be all over the place for me. It'd be equal parts. Okay. So it's kind of like I just want it to be, and that's the thing, Doppelbocks can be very sporadic as far as, or very hit or miss when it comes to what I want from them. I want a specific feel and vibe out of my Doppelbocks. I want a nice,
you want more. It's kind of more of like the style, the beer itself, as opposed to where it was made, kind of like the barley wine discussion.
Yes, and the thing was with Doppelbocks, a lot of times, that's why I'm really excited to try this, is that Doppelbocks, a lot of times, you don't know what's in there. Like sometimes when you drink a Doppelbock, it's kind of like a Russian Imperial Stout. There's a handful, not a handful, half the people think Russian Imperial Stouts should have a very bittering roasted malt with a little bit of hop presence in there. And then there's Russian Imperial Stouts that people are like, it's all about the kind of sweeter, non-bittering malt. And you got a nice coffee in there, nice mouthfeel, really no hop presence whatsoever. But there is no American Russian Imperial Stout or whatever Russian, you know what I mean? Like it's just Russian Imperial Stout. So you have no idea what's inside. Same thing with Doppelbocks. There's a varying mindset when it comes to how they should be and how they should taste, so that you never know what the hell is inside a Doppelbock until you drink it. So let's drink it.
That being said,
cheers.
Very nice segue.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, that's
what I want. That is what I want. Ooh. In my Doppelbocks. That mouthfeel is that nutty, bready mouthfeel, and that nice dose of cherry.
Wow, that's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the good stuff right there.
I was a tad worried when we pull up my paper that I've ripped off.
You're tad worried when you pulled the sticker off the can? Or
No. They said cherry juice.
Okay.
Sourced.
I didn't read that.
As opposed to, it's underneath it. on their Cherry Dopplebock, it says lager brewed with cherry juice, and then it says Victory brought their lager yeast to the brewery, and they sourced Michigan cherry juice. So it's not like whole or fresh cherries that they used for this one. I was kind of worried it would give it almost like an artificial kind of flavor or feel to it, but it doesn't do that at all. The cherry actually dives really nicely into the beer. It's in there kind of so well that it's almost like
part of the malt. It's a bumped up malt.
It's almost not cherry juice at all. You could have just said like, oh, there's cherry notes coming from the malt or the yeast or like whatever. It's almost like not a whole other thing, you know.
And then I honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, I get why they wouldn't use real cherries, because a couple things I wouldn't want to have in a Doppelbock would be acidity or like a kind of like tannic, skinny kind ofness, which you're gonna get from whole cherries. So you're not getting, this isn't cherry juice like a maraschino cherry juice. You're not getting like that kind of overt sweetness, but you're getting that nice cherry, and it's not like a vanilla kind of extract. It's like you said, it's welcoming. It's not off-putting. It complements the Doppelbock. How do I put it? In the most generic terms, if this beer was a song, and you typically get slight cherry notes out of Doppelbock. If this beer was a song, when you were playing it, you bumped up. You took the equalizer and you just bumped up the cherry just a little bit. It's not like you threw a bunch of cherries in it to where it's cherry inside of Doppelbock. It's like you just brought out like the natural cherry notes that were already there. You know what I mean?
It's not like a creek mixed with a Doppelbock or something like that, you know?
Yeah, this is good. I have to go back and get more of this.
Yeah.
And plus, you get a nice sticker every time.
Yeah. I fucking love that. I love that so much about that brewery.
Fantastic.
It's just, here's this can. Like, we want to put out a new beer. I don't want to get a new can. Let's just get stickers.
But you know, it's somebody like, he was like they're sitting in like a board meeting, like half drunk, just like thinking about how they can maximize profit margins. And they're like, wait a minute. Some guy wakes up, eyes wide, and just slams on the table and goes, stickers. He's like, let's just order just one can for everything, and stickers are cheap. We'll just fucking get a bunch of stickers, and we'll put the stickers on the cans. And then someone was like, you're fucking genius, John. Be like, thanks, Rob. Let's go out and get drunk. You know, it's like,
I like, he's promoted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny thing in a good way. Every time I get one, I want to peel the sticker off to see what's underneath. It's like a prize. It's like you're a kid opening a box. It's like a kid, you're opening a box of cereal first when you're a kid, and you're super excited to see what's inside. You don't even know what's inside. There's gonna be something in there. Oh, we got a generic can this time. Oh well.
Thanks. Damn it. Yeah. If you peeled it, like that's what it's kind of like the dark horse. Like I bought 2 4-packs of Plead the Fifth, and one bottle didn't have a label on them.
Yeah. It's like a secret surprise. I'm just waiting for the day where I like unwrap a can and it's like some other obscure brewery from I've never heard of. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's just like they're like, oh, did you hear blah 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 does pounder cans on the road is going out of business? Let's go buy all their cans. You know what I mean? And like come back and
order more stickers. We're gonna go get these cans from.
Be like, listen,
this place.
Stickers are $0.05 a piece. Cans are $1 a piece. Let's make sense out of this. So it's like you peel off the sticker and it's just as like you know, Brumblumski's Brewing. You know what I mean? Like, lager pounders. Yeah. But, I mean, just to talk about this beer, not to do the whole non-rating thing that I'm doing and you're doing and all that fun stuff.
Yes, both reviews that I put up, I have done the no rating, and it's quite fun. I told Amanda about it, too, and I think she's going to adopt it for her reviews as well.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, just talk about it. This is actually, and it's not knee jerk, man, because we talk about. Let's put it this way: we talk about. I just talked about how beer is definitely mood driven. If you're in a shitty mood, beer is probably not going to taste as good. Actually, it might taste better depending on what kind of shitty mood you're in. But the first two beers I had today didn't really do anything for me. And I don't necessarily think it's because they're bad beers. I'm just kind of in a shitty mood because of my knee.
Yeah.
But this one kind of does it for me. Like I said, it has that Doppelbock mouthfeel, which is like, you have to have it for me. If you're just off on that mouthfeel, it just doesn't. I can enjoy it, but it's just not. It's not going to do anything for me. And this nails it to a T. You get a nice bready, malty dinner in a glass thing that Doppelbocks are meant to be and known for, and then combine that with that extra added cherry juice, and it just works for me. So it's a beer. Would I pick it up again? Absolutely. I'll definitely pick it up again. And if you like what we like this, if you like all the beers I kind of mentioned, if you like Troeg Stroganator, if you like Celebrator from Eyinger, if you like Voodoo Vader from Atwater, if you like Emily's Imperial Doppelbock, this is definitely worth one picking up.
Yeah, I think going into what you were saying, like the different moods for beers and stuff, if you're in a shitty mood and you're going into and you're having a beer that like regularly you're not like super into, like a style, like you're having a style that you're not super into, like when you're not in a shitty mood, it's probably not going to do much for you. But you're going into a style that, but if you go into a style that you like, and even a style that is as varied as the Doppelbock, I think it can really kind of perk you up a little bit to have something that you're like, regardless of how the style goes, you'll most likely enjoy it. So if you're in a shitty mood and you're having a beer style that you like, I think it can perk you. It can kind of like pick you up a little bit. But like you said, the beer that I most related this to was Celebrator. Also, it's because it's the most recent Doppelbock that I've had. But smell-wise, it's, to me, fairly similar to Celebrator.
It is. It gets that vibe just right. Like I said, man, I fucking dig it. Yeah. It's fucking delicious. There you go. That's probably one of the better beers we've had on Review Eyes.
Probably. Let's see, what else do we...
I'm sure there's one that was equal, if not better, but I mean, that because we've done up to now we've reviewed 23 beers. Actually, no, we've reviewed probably like 30 or so beers, because remember that brew day we did a bunch of beers.
the brew day
that would never end
marathon. Yeah.
The 4-hour show that went nowhere.
Yeah, the 4-hour show. Here's the thing: I did 2 beers and ended in like 6 hours, and compared to I did 1 beer and basically spent that much time. Like how the fuck does that? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know if it was the conjunction of like doing other shit as well that made it go that much longer, but like 2 beers ended in like roughly 6 hours, and then did 1 beer, and altogether it was probably like around 5 or 6 hours as well. Like that doesn't make. I don't know. It didn't, like, thinking back to it now, I'm like, what the fuck were we doing? Apart from just drinking.
No, that was a big part of it. Right, Bisto? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. It was a big part of it, buddy.
Yeah.
Bisto's like,
you've actually watched that episode.
Every time Bisto makes an appearance, like he's the mascot of the show now. He has to make the appearance. He has to make the appearance at least once a show.
Stand on the table.
He was like, he jumps up on this little like sofa thing, and now he's getting down because he's being weird. There's this like chair that I push up. It's usually up against. No, dude, you gotta get off me. He pushes up. I push up against his table. That's how he gets on it. And he was literally staring at me for like 5 minutes, going, "Are you gonna push a chair over so I can get on the table?" And I was like, I literally right now just push it over. And then we got a little Mika action going. We got both dogs in the shot today. There you go. Look at this.
Both mascots.
go. They've been really on edge for the past few days because my knee is, like I said, it was really bad to the point where like I've made a lot of yelping noises over the past 2 days, and like they've been like really sketchy because they know something's up and they don't know what. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like they'll be laying down and I'll make like a real big scream all of a sudden, and they'll freak out and be like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" You know what I mean?
You okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. I'm glad we picked that one up.
Yeah, me too.
It was the best Viviant beer I've had too. Like I've had like about maybe
this is
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 6th one I've had.
I think this is the only one that I've had so far.
Yeah, I bought like this mix of 6, or it wasn't even a mix of 6. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 beers from them. It was doubles.
Wow.
No, it was 13. It was weird because it was a pounder 13 pack. I don't know how that works with math, but it basically was a pound. It was a mixer 12 pack or whatever. But then like you got doubles of every beer except for one, and then one was like a surprise beer. So there was 4 different. There was 4 beers in there, and then an extra one that they said the surprise beer, and so that was 5, and then this one's 6. This is like I like their stuff. It's good, but this is the one that was like right now, hands down, is the best one I've had.
Yeah. Well, they're mostly like a kind of like Belgian inspired brewery.
That's right? It. They're all Belgian influence.
Yeah. And this was kind of like taking the German influence that's like from Victory.
Yeah, and honestly, and here's the weird part is, it could be there are other beers I liked, but it could be the yeast because they said they brought they brought Victory's lagering yeast. From,
yeah,
which is funny because I've never had anything lagered from Victory that really blew me away, so that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, like the Prima Pils is good, but it's at the end of the day, it's just a lager. You know?
Yeah, and they probably had to use.
And that's really the.
You think they have to use a different lager yeast? You think they use the same lager yeast for that as they would with this?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, what other lagers do they have over there?
I don't know. Actually, I have no idea.
Yeah, like that. Like Prima Pils is the one that I could think of off the top of my head. So, and that's a German Pilsner anyway. So, like, German lager yeast going into this is probably not too far off.
Nice, yeah. I haven't had a ton of Victory lately. What did I just had something from them though. What did I have? Did I take a picture of it? I went to Sabatini's on Friday because they had a tap takeover there that was like crazy.
Lost Abbey.
Yeah, but that was on a Tuesday, and they had that on Tuesday, and then Nick from Sabs he texted me that they got more of that barley wine in that Brewers Reserve from the Levrig. Did we try that together?
I think so. Was that the one that you brought to the bottle share last time?
I don't know. It's like small bottle with a star. Yes. They got more of that in, but they also got more of their shit in. Like, it was funny because they actually, I did the review of the Levrig barley wine, and then that was a while ago. And then some dude randomly wrote me, or commented on my review, going, "Hey, this brewery is like my house brewery. Like, it's like right in my town." So I'm like, it's very cool that I seen them here, that somebody else is drinking them. He's like, you really need to try their Conrad Stout, which is a Russian Imperial Stout. And before I could even reply to the guy, like an hour later, I got a text from Nick from Sabs going, "Hey, we got 2 more beers from the Levrig," and it was that Conrad Stout and then a rye IPA. So I was like, okay, I'll definitely stop by and pick some up. And then I looked later in the day. They posted their tap handles at the pizza place because that's where they still do the tap takeovers, and all the beers were still on there, almost all of them. So I was like, screw it, I'll go pick up some beer. And dude, I did a flight. Let's put it this way.
Sorry.
You get 5, I think it's 4 ounce. Looks like 4 ounces. 5 4-ounce samples cost me, and I got the track 8, track 10. I got some other crazy old ale aged in bourbon barrels. I got a sour aged in bourbon barrels, and I got their double IPA for $12 or $12. It cost $12 for a sampler of that.
Oh, fuck.
Like a bottle of track 8 or track 10 is like $20, and that's like 12 ounces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, this is a no-brainer.
It's like $18.90. It's like $18.95 for fucking track 8.
Yeah, so I was like, hey, fucking win for me. So I went and did that, and they picked up the other ones. So, but yeah. Anyway.
That doesn't suck.
No, it does not suck. So, let's move on. On to second topic, which is looking at the BJCP as a golden rule for brewing. Also taking writers and other brewers too seriously. Let's see. BJCP is a golden rule.
No.
Well, no.
I don't think, like, this stems from my one friend. If you're watching, you know who you are. Every time we're like talking about styles, especially when it comes around for like us making a project brews, he's like, well, BJCP says it should be this, this, and this, and we're all like,
shut your fucking mouth.
We're like, when did the BJCP become like this, like the literally like the golden rule for a brewer? Like, when did that fucking happen? And I don't think it is, at least for a commercial brewer. I mean, there are some parameters for beers. You're not gonna fucking put out a super hoppy beer and say this is a Belgian quad. Like,
yeah,
there are certain,
like Victory.
There are certain
without their hoppy quad.
Yeah. You're not going to put out something, and like literally anything from Stone. I like Stone. Their beers I think are fairly reasonably priced compared to certain other breweries. But all of their stuff is a little too hoppy, and I think it's unnecessarily hoppy.
Yes.
The Woot Stout was actually fucking amazing.
All the collabs their collabs are never hop forward. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, and the Woot Stout I had also aged for 2 years, so that's another. Take that into consideration. But anyway, a lot of their stuff, a lot of Stone stuff is super hop forward, and thus kind of goes outside of the parameters of a particular style. I think, and I mentioned this. I know I mentioned this fact. I think the BJCP should remain geared toward homebrewers. I think to then get someone used to making a particular style before you go crazy with it. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense. Honestly, similar to Reinheitsgebot Gebot law, I guess you would say, is that the BJCP served a purpose in a time and a place, and neither that time or place is now. It's like back in the day when you had homebrewers, because I mean, homebrewing's pretty new if you really think about it legally in the United States. You know what I mean? Like, as far as the total legal, that's what it said, the 70s, 80s it became like legal, I think.
Been legal since like the 70s across the
Actually,
board.
I think one of the across the board, like legal across the whole country, is not too long ago at all. Even way less.
No, not too. Like with 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
I'd say 3 years at the max, and that was like the last two holdouts were Alabama was one of them, and either Mississippi or Missouri was the other holdout that like kept homebrewing to be illegal.
So yeah, I mean, like it's a relatively new thing, and then like you're talking about in the '80s and the '90s, even the early 2000s, because really homebrewing exploded way after I believe. Well, no, not that I believe. It's true. Homebrewing exploded at like within the past like 10 years. It's gotten way, way bigger. And not that it didn't exist beforehand, but it's getting much, much, much more popular. To where like 10 years ago, I knew like 2 people that homebrewed. And I like beer and I talk to people, but now I know like everybody does it. Every single person I know makes beer. You know what I mean? Like it's like even if it is once a year, twice a year, just for fun. So it's like one of those things where like as a homebrewer, like you're saying, BJCP should stay homebrew. I think it is a good thing. It's kind of like, nobody who does long division or calculus didn't do add addition and subtraction at one point. So to start off, if you don't have somebody, like there's somebody out there who doesn't have somebody who brews and are trying to figure out how to make stuff, it is a good thing to kind of help them along. And then, okay, now I know how to walk. Let me fucking run and just do what I fucking want to do and get creative with it. But as far as like a lot of these micro or nano breweries that are making shit, like does it taste good or doesn't it? It just comes down to that. And that's what it should be. It shouldn't be like, oh man, this fucking casserole tastes great. Wait a minute. You didn't put any salt into it? No, we can't. No. It tastes good, but you didn't use salt, and I'm really not getting a ton of natural salt from it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to disqualify this. No, it fucking tastes good. Eat it, motherfucker. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like it's that weird thing where it's like, and that's where I think not that the Cicerone or whatever the fuck you want to call it is a little bit more I don't want to say makes more sense because it doesn't, but it's that is a little bit more focused on what are you picking up in a beer. That was always good?
More focused on like the whole Cicerone thing was focused way more onto the retail side of things. It's for the people actually selling you the beer at the bar, restaurant, bottle shop, whatever. It's so they don't look at you and be like, "Oh, can you tell me about this beer? Can you tell me about this beer?" And they don't look at you and like it's fucking beer.
And here's the other flip side of the fucking coin. This is actually the part that gets me probably the most fucking heated. I understand the whole Cicerone, Chicharone, Chichucharon, and the Jibisba and all that stuff. But here's the thing. If somebody quotes BJCP or Cicerone to me and they're not a BJCP judge or a like second or third level Cicerone, because the first level Cicerone you pay $65 and they just give you the fucking thing. You don't even have to know anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're like
it's primarily
you have to be a master Cicerone. You have to be a master. If you're not a master Cicerone or a certified BJCP active judge, then I don't want to fucking hear you quote that shit.
If you are not one of 9 people that are master Cicerones, like don't even fucking talk to me.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you can talk to me. You just can't talk to me about Cicerone and BJCP
don't quote
shit.
Me. Like don't quote that kind of shit.
Yeah. Be like, well, BJ Cicerone said, be like, yeah, really? Where are you? Who are you? James Watt? Like, what the fuck? What's your name? You know what I mean? Like, don't talk to me and tell me, oh, that's what this be like. Really? Because I can open up a dictionary and tell you what shit says in the dictionary too. It doesn't make fucking sense. You know what I mean? Because if you don't know what the fuck you're gonna read it, doesn't mean you know what the fuck it means. And that's kind of where the whole like when I do the whole review thing, whether it's me with talking to a camera or you with writing now. It's not like we don't have a disclaimer above or below or shit saying, well, I'm this and that and the other thing. I'm just like my fucking thing that on my channel says about me. It says I'm just some fucking guy who likes beer who thinks he knows some shit but probably doesn't. That's pretty much what it fucking says. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's like the about page on my website is basically like, yeah, I like drinking beer, but I also like video games and comic books. Like I'm just a dude with a fucking beard and some tattoos, and I like comic books. Want to have a beer? Like that's basically that's like my whole little thing there.
Yeah, it's a funny world, and then like the whole to continue with our topic and kind of go into the whole influence. And now, when you wrote that, and this is the gist
So
I got.
I will start that section off as well because I'm gonna refer back to the same friend again. Not gonna mention his name. If you're watching, you know. He also will be he'll refer to different books, and I'm gonna be picking on one particular person, even though he seemed like a super cool guy from what you were saying, and that's Jamil Zanishev.
Yes.
He's always my friend is always like, well, in Jamil Zanishev's book, he says this. I'm like, is this guy Jesus Christ? Like, is he Jesus brewing beer Christ? Like, what is going on here? Like, why can't but it's also like I understand why my friend is doing this because of just the kind of the way that he thinks, but I'm like, I don't understand. Like, just you gotta play around with stuff. Like reading, you know, I could have said the same thing about myself. I always referred when I was doing crazy stuff before I was like super comfortable with like adding spices and fruits and whatever into a beer. I always referred to extreme brewing, but I never took that book.
It's gospel.
Yeah, I never took it too seriously. I used it as a reference guide. Like, oh, okay, 2 pounds per gallon in a darker beer makes sense to me compared to as low as 1 pound per gallon in like a wheat beer. So the difference between adding fruit to a Russian Imperial Stout versus adding fruit to a wheat beer.
Yeah.
What are you going to need more in to get more of that character to come out? The stout. So like that, but it was always reference. It was never like, well, Sam Calagione says I got to do this in this style of beer, and it's got to have this thing in it, and I'm going to feel really bad tomorrow if my friend is watching this and he knows who I'm talking about, and he's in the brewery tomorrow. So anyway, like, I just never got, like, I never understood the like not wanting to play and figure it out. That's primarily what I like. Most of my homebrewing, I can just be like, yeah, I'm just fucking playing. Like, I'm just playing around and I'm figuring this stuff out, and will it work? We'll see.
I mean, you know, some people are just built mentally that way, because like, there's like, you brew something, like, let's say you're brewing something, and you know, you check your temp after mashing in or whatever fuck, and you're like, oh, this is too high, or this is 5 degrees too high, or this is 5 degrees too low. You know, okay, so I'm gonna expect this out of it. Maybe it'll be a little more of this, a little more of that.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, and you get a reading on it, and you're like, okay, just a touch too low. You know, there's people that are like, get a reading, go too low, dump it, go, I'm not fucking making this now because this is not gonna be the beer.
And like that's like brewing with my friend that's like this is, I like to just tease him, but at the same time, I know when my whole like kind of very easygoing, like, let it fucking ride shit isn't going to play out. And when we were brewing a barley wine last week, or not last week, a couple weeks ago, the pH was way off in the beer. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not good. Like, that's going to give us some fucked up shit probably. Like, let's try to nail that in and like fix it. But I even know that at a certain point, that whole like whatever happens mentality kind of doesn't work. Like, you gotta like, there's certain ways, like there's certain things, you know, with my mash temperature, I kind of like whatever happens on my home brewing scale, because I can't really do shit about it. You know, either I have too much grain in, if I'm doing a barley wine, I have way too much grain and can't add any more water in to bump the temperature up, or I just don't fucking feel like it because I can't control the temperature.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those things to where like I'll end up mashing low, but I don't care. You know, but if I had control of the temperature, be like, yeah, let's bump this up a couple degrees, and I'll be in a better comfort zone, you know?
Yeah, and there's also that whole other thing, which is I think I've said it on here before. I've said it on a radio show before, is that it's like a double-edged sword. You definitely, you're going to brewery school, so you definitely want to learn shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it seems like some brewers are taught a certain way, and that's like they're taught such hard and fast rules that they have a hard time exploring outside of those rules. Where you have some brewers. Yeah. Which we talked on a radio show. I would talk to one of the head brewer from Coronado Brewing. He's like a young kid. He just came through it from homebrew and just started doing it and had no one really teach him anything. And while it's nice to know, rules, sometimes it's nice not to know too much because then there's a leeway there of experimentation in your brain instead of going, oh, wait a minute, I have to do this. Well, maybe you don't fucking have to do that. Maybe you can do it differently. So it seems like a lot of times, like, when it comes to...
That's the same, like, with that Rusty Rail brewing is the same thing. That dude came straight from home brewing. And granted, he's, like, asking for help, and he's, like, asking for advice and, like, any kind of advice and tips and shit.
Which any fucking brewer would do if they're fucking smart, because you always want to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that
you think you know it all, quit. Basically. Oh, I know everything. Get away with me.
Dude, that doesn't work in North Slope anymore.
The what?
What?
What'd you
say? I said, dude, that doesn't work at North Slope anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. You don't have to mumble that shit. You know that, right? Like, how is that dude ever going to affect you in your life? Like, who gives a fuck?
I was going for the joke factor of like,
okay.
the like cough.
Nice.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Like, I don't know if this necessarily goes over to Brewers. I think it kind of ties in with Jamil Zanishev because he is a writer and a brewer, and he was really the only one that popped into my head for this particular topic. But like, it's perfectly fine to find inspiration from other breweries and want to try to go outside of the box, so to speak, because of another brewery. I've mentioned it before that my biggest inspiration getting into brewing was Dogfish Head. I'm like, these guys just seem to, like, especially in their brew pub, they do whatever they want to do. They're going to try it. If it sucks, it sucks. Back to the drawing board. If it's good, hey, even better. And that's kind of like what I've really, in my own brewing, that's really kind of what I wanted to do, which is kind of why my third homebrew was a 10% Imperial Stout.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just put as much grain into this mash tun as I could possibly fit in and see what happens. So, and that's, I think, when I was talking about this stuff before I really started with my mom, she's like, well, you got to, like, hone this stuff in. You got to, like, figure this stuff. It's like, this is science. I'm like, you can't, like, yeah, it is, but you also can't take away the kind of art and the fun factor. If you're not having fun, trying new things or trying a different beer, if you're brewing the same beer over and over and over again, it's going to get boring. But at the same time, it could still be like a joy for someone. Like, as crazy as it sounds, like doing something repeatedly some people will be like, yeah, I kind of like doing this. But if you're doing something new, especially if you're homebrewing, homebrewing, there's no reason to not fucking just go crazy and see unless it sours and like fucks up all of your equipment and stuff, then like there's no reason to just try something new.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. And like, we're flirting like on last year's topic pretty much. We're doing a lot of homebrew on this one, but yeah, I mean,
that's because it's like easy to
it makes sense.
Relate this back into homebrew.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as just taking at as a golden rule BJCP. That whole thing, man. But taking writers and others seriously, it depends on where you come from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's also a lot like not to lump you or me or any of us in with the greats like Michael Jackson or Garrett or anybody like that writes about beer. To be like, you find there's Michael Jackson was probably the only person that really open-heartedly enjoyed every beer he ever had, which I'm not that person. He could have been lying for all that I know, but he openly, he never talked bad ever about a beer. And while when he started, I mean, you're talking about the 70s and 80s up into the 90s, that made sense. But I think in today's world, you can't just be everything's awesome. And to like look at other writers as being either more right or wrong than other writers, it's all fucking subjectiveness. You know what I mean? Like there's like, and this is what I was basically trying to hint at, is that like if people were to read your articles or they were to watch my fucking channel repeatedly over time, they continue to watch my channel because they have similar palates as me. They've been like, okay, he likes these, he loves these 5 fucking beers, and he hates these 5 fucking beers. I love those five beers he loves, and I hate those 5. So chances are we're pretty fucking in sync with what we like. So I'm going to watch this guy or read this guy because this person is probably going to lead me to beers that I want to drink because we're very similar. So that's kind of like, would I lean on a specific writer? Yes, if there were anybody that was like me, like, then that's not saying it in like a conceited sense. It's just like there's some writers that like, that's a whole other topic. A lot of the writers, and we're talking people I know locally to regionally to people I've never met nationally and globally, that there is a lot of not saying shit sucks.
Yeah.
There's a very big.
I can go back. This is go kind of into like taking people a little too seriously. When I first started getting into beer, and like my mom has kind of like been right there with me on like this whole path, and she'll try pretty much anything that I'll have. And she would listen to a lot of Rock 107, where our favorite person, or my favorite person, Chip the Beer Guy, would do his little whatever he does, and she's like his shtick.
Yeah.
So she would be like, "Well, Chip the Beer Guy says like the 5-sip rule or some bull crap," and I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever." And then like I came home with the story of how Chip the Beer Guy snubbed me at Sabatini's, and she's like, "Yeah, never fucking mentioned that again." Literally has not mentioned, like, either she stopped because she has Sirius in her car now, Sirius satellite in the car, she just doesn't listen to Rock 107 anymore, or like that never really came up because of like how little I interacted with it, and especially after the whole Sabatini's debacle, it's just kind of like it's like that whole thing never existed, you know.
But there's also like, I mean, even like on YouTube, like there's reviewers on YouTube that just don't say shit sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's actually pretty much the most popular reviewers on all of YouTube never say shit sucks. They just say they gloss over it, or they say it's awesome, and I don't see how that fucking. I don't see how that helps anybody.
It doesn't. Because like I put up a review of Green Flash Double Stout.
How was that aged? I didn't read it yet because I fell asleep.
Aged, I think I aged it too long.
That was quite the dusty bottle. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Yeah. I think. Honestly, that might have been like late 2011, early 2012. that I bought that. So you're
You
looking
had
at a bottle,
3-4 years on it, yeah.
3-4 years.
At least, because who knows how long it was sitting on the shelf, yeah.
At least. So that amount of age did not. It wasn't bad. It wasn't by any means a bad beer. It was just aged too long.
Yeah.
And it had. Well, you could read the review, but it was just like it wasn't exactly turning sour, but I think within another like year or so, it could like really kind of go sideways. You know?
Yeah. Which sucks, but at the same time, it's always a good thing to have a beer like that because then you know. You know what I mean? Like, what you do is that I'm assuming you have more than one of them. What you do is that you'll go home and crack one when you come home. Just because why keep it on your shelf now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, really.
Crack one when you get home, and if that one's really good, then you know it was just a bottle thing, a capping issue, or an oxidation thing.
I did remember that the body of it when I first had it. I think I reviewed it actually, and it actually made it up onto my YouTube channel. I do remember the body being quite thin for like it being an 8.5% stout.
Yeah.
So.
I'm trying to think what else.
Fuck!
What?
I thought I was out of the Dopplebock, and I still have like.
See?
Oh,
look at that pounder can serve you right now. So I mean, taking people too seriously, like there's some writers that are a little bit. There's some YouTube reviewers and some writers that do kind of rub me the wrong way. People get a little bit too. I don't know. There's definitely reviewers on YouTube that annoy me. You know what I mean? Like they just all they do is review like the beer you could never ever get in your life. That's all they review is like whale after whale after whale. And it's just like, dude, come on. Like, who the fuck is going to drink that shit? And we all fall into that fucking, like, I've done a bunch of beers, but I've done a bunch of basic shit. But it's just like, there's people out there that just do the same thing over and over. And it's just like, dude, no one can get, every beer you're doing is basically the beers that everybody wants to get that you can't get. And I understand I'll get you hits. So that shit kind of annoys me. So their actual palate and how they taste shit and whether I reference it as good or bad is almost null or void because I hate them to begin with. Same thing with writers. There's some writers out there that I read stuff like I'm just like, okay, I'm like, you know, you're just saying shit just that you're not. You can tell when somebody writes something and you want to be like, yeah, I just don't like this fucking thing. This beer's no good, but they won't say it. You know what I mean? And you just want them to say it. Be like, listen, people read these magazines or watch these videos to see if it's something they would like to pick up. Two reasons I see. See if it's something they like to pick up, or if they're drinking it in the moment. Because I have a lot of people that write me and be like, I'm drinking this beer right now. That's a lot of the comments I get. And it's somebody drinking the beer, searching for it on the internet while they drink it, because they want to know, and they just want to be like, okay, what am I getting out of this, or what am I not getting that maybe I should get? You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's like a lot of people like you'd be like, you're not helping anybody by being like, yeah, this is and this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is great. Be like, no, you can tell by your body language you're not a big fan of it, but you're still not shitting on it because you fear like it's almost like, oh, if they say Stone made a bad beer, that Stone's gonna like send a letter to their house saying, we're not gonna let you drink any more Stone fucking beer. Be
like fucking Greg Cook is gonna come to your house and like punch you in the face. Like,
yeah, be like, yeah, it's just like if something sucks, and it takes a lot for me, and that's the thing with me when I used to do the grading stuff, and it's similar to now when I just talk about a beer, is that it takes a real lot for me to rip a beer, like rip it to shreds. I'll say if I don't like it, I'll be like, yeah, I don't like it, I wouldn't pick it up again. A lot of people don't fucking say shit like that, but to really rip on a beer, you'd have to go above and beyond. The same thing is, but I think that's a yin and yang, ebb and flow to the other end of the spectrum. To where if I fucking say this beer is fucking awesome and it's fucking fantastic and like next level shit, then it's fucking next level shit. Like something like people always tell me, like some of the people that I like run in circles with on YouTube, like Average Joe who's been on here, or Paul off Paper News, or any of those guys. And I'm like, they'll be like, yeah, man, they'll actually say it not as a they're not slighting me or saying it in a negative way. They'll actually say be like, well, I'll ask them, be like, oh, you had this beer, what did you think of it? And then they'll give me a rating, but they'll always preface with, but you're a little pretty hard on beers, so I'm probably a little bit higher than you. You know what I mean? But I'm like, not.
Well, that was kind of the same way with just me and Amanda. Amanda was always graded harsher than I did, you know, and she like.
But that's the thing. I don't think I grade lesser. Those people are harsher on lesser beers. Mm-hmm. Like I'm harder on. It's way harder to get from 90 to 98 compared to them, but it's way harder for beers to get from 70 to 60 compared to them for me. So I'm like tough at the top, but I'm also tough at the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, with like us, like I would joke about it when we did video reviews. I'm like, well, man, there's gonna be like even beers that I don't like we saw it with the Pump Kick review. You know, I didn't really like that beer.
Yeah.
I think I graded it too high. You know, that was before we stopped doing ratings, and now I think it's like Amanda she'll send me all of her reviews to kind of like just look over and see if everything like kind of sounds okay. It always sounds okay. Like she makes sense when she's writing. But just it was mostly I think she was sending stuff mostly to be like, am I grading this too harshly? Like is this an okay grade for this beer? I'm like, well, I don't know. I've never had this beer before. You're grading something independently of me trying it, you know? So I think now she's really embrace the no ratings for written reviews on our site. I think that's going to be like on both ends. It's going to make it a lot easier. You know, like I did the letter scale. Like what's the difference between a fucking B and an A minus? You know, like how like both like you could have two beers that are based like I enjoy equally as much. Like what differences am I going for? Like if I enjoy both of them, I should just be saying like we've been saying, you should just say that we enjoy them. You know? Yeah,
I'm a creature of pattern, so it's like a hard thing for me to do. Like the number system I did in the grading system, I should say, because some people do number and letter. It's all the fucking same, really. Is that like I did it because I didn't know what else to do. You know what I mean? Just that's what I do. That's what everybody else does, which is retarded. But you know, when you never did anything before, that's how you think. And then no longer when I just felt uncomfortable, not in a way that it was like I was like I felt like I was doing something wrong. I'd be like, I just don't get it. You know what I mean? Like I just don't get like I'm throwing numbers out there, and I think that numbers made sense in the way of how much I liked it, but I don't think it should be as cut and dry as a singular entity. Like why didn't you rate it at 88.3475 instead of an 88? You know what I mean? It's kind of like that's kind of how it works. Like, oh, you graded a C or a C plus or a B minus, but like what about a C plus minus plus 1 minus 2? You know what I mean? Like where's that number land? Like what does that number make sense? You know what I mean? So it was just like I was like, you know what? I'm fucking done. It just doesn't make any sense. It's basically you could talk about a beer, and that's what I do the same thing. I basically say now instead of saying, okay, I'll give this a 85, I go, okay, let's talk about this. That's what I say now. I'm like, okay, we're talking about this beer. And I still break it down in kind of an analytical style. I go, okay, kind of like I did tonight. I go, would I buy this beer again? Or I go, do I like this beer a lot? Or do I like this beer? And I'll go, yes, I like this beer a lot. Would I buy it again? There's some beers I'm like, not really. Probably wouldn't buy it again because why? Because it's good, but it didn't pull my doors off, but the price point's too high and the availability is kind of shit. So the chance of me picking this up somewhere else is slim to none. So am I glad I picked it up? Yes. But at the same time, I'm not going to hunt it out again. But for example, I did a beer tonight from a small brewery from Rochester, and I didn't really like it all that much. And I said, it smelled awesome. It was a rum barrel aged Belgian dark, and I was like, and it smelled awesome and it looked awesome. And I drank it, and it tasted like they forgot to get sugar out of something. It tasted basically like. What it tasted like, they made a beer purposely that wasn't super sweet to let the rum barrel take over and kind of like make the sweetness happen via that route. Because some beers can get really sweet when you age it in a barrel, but they miscalculated and they made the beer way lower sweetness wise than what it needed to be. So I was like, Yeah, it was very almost like a dry wine-ish kind of thing, but it was still a beer. It wasn't winey at all. It wasn't bitter. It was just there's just no sweetness in there. Almost like I forgot it to the point where I'm like, should I put like a packet of salt sugar in this or Splenda? You know what I mean? Like something like that. I wouldn't do that, but I'm just like that's the thing that came to my head. But at the same time, I was like, okay, would I buy this beer again? Yes, was my answer because I don't know what time's going to do this. I'm really curious to see because you can actually get some pretty kooky sweetness off a beer when you age it. And I'm like, I would definitely like to buy one again just to do that. So there's even beers that I'm like, am I blown away by it? No, but I definitely want to buy another one. You know what I mean? So that's where that kind of comes in because it's like more like instead of being like this beer sucks, that's it. It's like, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it, but I think I might buy it again. You know, it's like it's a little bit it's broader and a bit more open in a good way, not in a way that how do I put it? Like when I first started reviewing, if I was really vague, I felt like people would be like, "You're not saying anything."
Yeah.
So now I'm comfortable enough to be like, "Well, I know I'm saying shit. So if you think I'm being vague, then just go fucking watch somebody else."
Yeah. Like for my reviews now, because I've always because I did written reviews before, and now I've focused on them primarily, and I always have at the end of my reviews kind of like what I call like an overall section. It's just kind of my overall thoughts of a beer. And even before you said like before you brought up the whole not rating beers anymore, it felt weird to do like kind of an overall thing. Like if you can't figure out that I enjoy, like if you need a rating score so badly that you can't figure out like roughly by just that section, like you could probably skip the entire review that I write and just look at my overall section and be like, yeah, he enjoyed this beer, or like, yeah, this beer was okay, it could have been better, it could have been more, like, not bad, not shitty, you know, like, if you can't figure it out from kind of that section alone, it was like, why am I even rating this? You know? Like, because I'm giving you my, if anything, I'm giving my full opinion in like a little paragraph, you know, at the end of my review, and like I'm just explain, like it's intro, set up the beer, review, opinion, and then opinion with a rating, you know.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I think that's it for tonight. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah, that was actually. I didn't think we went that long. We went almost 2 hours.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, that's pretty much it for a kind of open air kind of discussion about all things. We definitely diverted from topics, but I don't think in a bad way.
No, we always do that anyway.
Yeah, reviewed a very nice beer, and that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the hangout. You can check out Love Beer Radio or send us questions and comments below, or send us any kind of questions or topics or anything you would like us to cover or talk about at Love Beer Radio. Topics.
Send topics.
lovebeerradio@gmail.com. If you'd like
or
to check.
NEPAbeerreviews@gmail.com. Either one.
It's lovebeerradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to contact you or me, you can contact me at Massive Beers, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Untapped, and massivebeers@gmail.com. And Joe?
NEPAbeerreviews.squarespace.com. Also, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at NEPAbeerreviews. And like I said before, NEPAbeerreviews@gmail.com.
So, yeah. So, hopefully, you guys enjoyed the hangout. Hopefully, you learned something or got angry or whatever. And hopefully, see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.